So when it comes to the face-to-face lectures, we will see your faces. So this is Psychology for ICT Professionals module. So first I will show you the module content or the learning outcomes and the details regarding the module. So you can have an idea and you will use these things in your learning process. So this is a non-GPA module. So sometimes you may feel that why should I learn psychology? So earlier this was proposed to conduct in the semester 3, but it was changed. Recently they had the curriculum revision. So this is the module. I think I will share all the PowerPoints and the module content with you. I will contact you batch representatives so that I can share everything with you. Now you have the group email, so that I can directly share materials with you. And I will share my PowerPoints. So basically PowerPoints may not include all the information that are needed for the lecture. So that is support for me to conduct the lecture. PowerPoint is for me. So I have added some information which related to the lecture, and it is not a note or complete note. It's not a complete note. It's a PowerPoint. So you should include necessary informations to the lecture. You have to prepare your own note sets in order to complete the lesson. So you can listen to the lecture, and you can refer some books, references, or some there are several websites related to the module. So you need to refer those references, and you have to make a note. You have to prepare the note that is regarding the lesson. And here this is the curriculum or module for the module of psychology. Right, this is a non-GPA module, only 2 credit module. The scope is very small, very limited scope is here. So the aim is to enable students. This is the overall aim, because you should, as a student, you should know what we expect from the students. So this is the expectations. This is the expectation. So to enable students to learn. So you should learn basic principles of psychology. You should learn basic principles of psychology to why. This is the answer for why statement. Why? To understand, explain, predict and modify. Predict and modify human behavior, including their own behavior. So this is our main aim. You should be able to understand. The student should be able to understand the human behavior. So this is not highly related with your core modules, core subject. You all are ICT students. So this will not help you to directly conduct the job or a profession. This will not directly support you to find a job. But after you found the job, you should work with the human being. So there you have to understand their behaviors. So you should be able to explain human behavior, and sometimes you may need predict. You should do some predictions with regarding human behavior, and as you may add to the workforce as a junior managers, and you will become a senior manager. There you have to work with the people, with not with the machines, but with the human being. So you should be able to modify their behaviors. You should be able to change or advance the behaviors in an effective manner. So this subject will guide you to how to identify the human behavior, how to explain those behaviors, and how to predict their behaviors, and will support you to modify the behavior. And not only others' behaviors, but our own behavior too. Our own behavior may change according to the content that we wanted to learn or discuss. And there's another aim. There are two aims: to make their life more pleasant and fruitful for themselves and others. So having or studying psychology is very important thing for us to modify our behaviors, and we can think about the appropriate behaviors, and we can control our mindsets or stress or related psychological disorders. There are several things to be practiced. So this will help us to do these things, right? These are the module aims. So overall aim that we expect from you, the module aims. Okay. And then next I will explain what are the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes. There are 7 learning outcomes. What do you understand by the learning outcome? Outcome, normally we know. Outcome. Outcome is the final result. Final result. This can be observed from the behaviors. Or by looking at your behavior, we should be able to see, observe these outcomes. අපි කියන්නේ ප්‍රතිඵලය outcome එක. Final outcome. So these are the learning outcomes. Now you can see what are the learning outcomes or what we expect from the students. And for the educational psychology, we always list some outcomes which are related to each and every topic. So at the end of the lesson, each and every lesson, we can evaluate our students based on these learning outcomes, lesson objectives or learning outcomes. Both can be used to describe these terms. Okay, learning outcomes. So at the end of the semester, I think you can understand this. At the end of the semester, we will be measured you or your learning using these outcomes. තේරුණාද? මෙන්න මේව තමයි බලන්නේ at the end of the semester or in the exam you will be measured. At the end of the module, the student will be able to. This is your capacity. This should be able to. You should be able to assess the level of their personality development, improve same. You should be able to assess the personality. So here we discuss about the development of the personality and how to assess the personality. Likewise, we discuss. So as an outcome, you should be able to assess personality types, personalities, and you should be able to improve it. So අපිට පේන්න ඕන ඔයගොල්ලෝ personality එක develop වුණාද කියලා. So that is first learning outcome. Second one is grasp the fundamental concepts. There are basic concepts, fundamental concepts in the subject, concepts and the principles of psychology, basic concepts and the principles, including history of psychology. So as a subject, you should learn, you should understand the history of the psychology and the fundamentals of the subject, or basic concept and the principles. And learning outcome 3 is use the principles of psychology to promote well-being. So we expect from you this well-being, good behavior. Well-being is the way we assess you. We assess the well-being of a student. So if you have learned principles of psychology, so you should be able to show it in your behavior, through your behavior, right? And understand common types of abnormal behaviors. Well-being and the abnormal behaviors. At the end, you should learn what are the abnormalities of the behavior, abnormal type of behaviors. So there are normal behaviors and the abnormal behaviors. So psychologists find the characteristics or types of abnormal behaviors, and we treat some abnormalities. So you as a result of this module, you have to learn about these abnormalities, abnormal behavior. There are different types of abnormalities. Manage stress using various techniques. Stress, I know that you have different subject, different non-GPA subject called stress management. So here also you want to talk about the stresses that are arising in your university life as a result of the lectures and the heavy workload. You may face some difficulties, basically stresses and depression feelings you may arise, and we have to cope up with the stresses. So here we will learn about those things also, and learn some simple therapies to overcome some types of distress and abnormal behaviors. So we will discuss about these things, and we will practice some what we call some simple relaxation, some therapies, type of therapies, so you can learn the nature of addiction and some remedies for the same. Addictions. There are different type of addictions. People may addict to some behaviors and some medicines. So we need to learn how to get the remedial actions for those addictions. So if there are some students or some relatives, so you can support them to get rid of those addiction type of behaviors. So here we want to learn about these things. These are the 7 learning outcomes. So basically you will be assessed based on these learning outcomes. You will be assessed based on these learning outcomes. Okay. And here I am going to show you the learning content or the topics that we need to discuss throughout the semester. So first topic is goals of psychology, areas covered by psychology. Psychology versus psychiatry, psychotherapies, introspection, the scientific method. So these are psychological concepts, principles. So we need to learn about these things. At least you should have heard about the basic words. Okay. Then the second topic is, first topic is introduction. The second topic is evolution of psychology. Evolution, how it started from the evil spirit theory to the behaviorism. So evil spirit theory is the history, 5000 before Christ. So the subject having very long history. So we want to know about the people who contributed to the development of the subject, right? Work of Wilhelm Wundt. Wilhelm Wundt is the psychologist who contributed to the development of the subject, where he developed a laboratory for the subject. Wundt is a German psychologist, bioscientist. Later we considered him as a psychologist. Wundt and William James, there are different people. Sigmund Freud, I think you have heard about the name Sigmund Freud. Freud is considered as a father of psychoanalysis. Freud is the famous psychologist. And Carl Jung is also a famous. Karen Horney, Binet and Simpson, Ivan Pavlov, they are behavioral scientists. Behaviorism also there. So we will talk about these people and the matters that they arise in the to development of the subject. Ivan Pavlov, John Watson, B.F. Skinner, these are famous people in the arena of psychology. B.F. Skinner, Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow. Sometimes you may learn about this Maslow, his need hierarchy. So most of the motivational lectures, his theory may be used to explain the motivation or explain the personality. Albert Bandura, another type of psychologist. Herbert Simpson, Rogers Perry. So these are these people still living. So, excuse me, give me 1 minute. Sorry. Then this is the third topic. Third topic is personality development. Personality development. Definition of personality. Here we need to talk about these things. Assessment of personality. Basic components of personality. Factors contributing to personality development. So we need to talk about these things. And models of theories of understanding human behavior. So we need to talk about the understanding of the human behavior. Psychodynamic model. This is there are different type of models. So psychodynamic, behavioral, and conditioning and shaping biological models, humanistic model. There are different type of models. Behavioral model and psychodynamic model. So we need to talk about these things. And abnormal behavior. Abnormal behavior. Classification of abnormal behavior. DSM-4. There's a different type of classifications to understand the abnormalities, abnormal type of behaviors. And there are the statistical manual of mental disease. DSM-4 means diagnostic and statistical manual for the mental diseases. So according to the DSM category, we need to talk about the abnormalities, or there's Association for American Psychologists. So they also talk about the abnormalities of the behavior. So mental disorders or the abnormal behaviors. American Association of Psychiatrists. These categories we need to talk. So different type of classifications. WHO, World Health Organization classification. According to these classifications, we need to learn about these disorders. So disorders means anxiety disorders. Order is normally it is in the accepted way that all the people, the people accept some behaviors from the human being. So if it is not in a proper way, proper manner, proper order, we call disorder. So and there are different type of disorders in the human behavior: anxiety disorders, depression, psychotic disorders, personality disorders. There are different type of disorders. So we need to learn about these disorders. So not the all details, but we need to just discuss about the types of disorders and the reasons, and to identify about these disorders we need to know, because there are different types of disorders or mental illnesses. Simply we call mental disorder, mental illness, manasika roga. So we all may have to face some disorders. Normally we in normal behaviors we cannot find these disorders, but we can categorize mental disorders into two categories: mild disorders and psychotic disorders. So mild mental illnesses are there, like stresses, phobias. There are some phobias, anxieties. Now you may have the small phobias, stress. When you face to the exam, you may face exam phobia. Your hands may fevering, and you may feel some uneasiness, sweating. Likewise, different type of phobias are there. If once the lecturer asks you to perform something in front of the classroom, you may feel some phobias. We call it social phobia. Sometimes you may having the fears to the snakes or some small insects. Different type of fears are there. We call them phobia. So there are different phobias. Anxieties. You may not feel well, and depression. You may feel depressed if you are dealing with the stressors for a longer period. Then you feel depression. So that is which is not good for our life. Depression is we considered as a severe mental disorder, because you may feel some severe illnesses due to the depression. So better to you have to cope with your stress. If not, what will happen? You may drag into the depressed mood, which is not suitable for us. And psychotic disorders. Psychotic disorders considered as the severe type of mental disorders which we cannot treat. These disorders cannot treat. Okay, psychotic disorder. No way of treating. No medicinal or the behavioral therapies for the psychotic disorders. You may have seen some mental illness patients by the roadsides or some other places. You may have seen if they are suffered with the psychotic disorders, they don't have the consciousness feelings. They are not aware about the situation if they have the psychotic disorders. So schizophrenic and some other psychotic disorders they haven't the proper feeling with related to their environment. They don't bother about the environment. They don't worry. They are living their own world with their own equipment. So these type of patients we call psychotic patients or psychotic disorders. Highly change the behavior due to some hormonal issues. There may be some psychological issues or the physiological and both physiological and psychological are there for the psycho and personality disorder. This is also a type of disorder which we can which is very difficult to treat. So personality disorders. Personality disorders comes from your childhood or sometimes from the genes or the very first inception, and throughout your life the personality disorders may affect to your life. Personality disorder, there are different type of personality disorders, so you can have idea. If you can browse from the web, you can find 10-12 disorders. Sometimes you may you may observe the familiarity. So you may think that you also may having some kind of disorders, personality disorders. It is very difficult to treat for the personality disorders. So it is bound with your behavior, bound with your life. So, for example, cleanliness. If you want to live with the clean and neat environment, so it is your personality. So it's bound with your personality. So you cannot work, or we cannot concentrate properly if the environment is not clean and nice or neat. So if it comes to the other way, your environment and the uh, environment and uh, the other the environment is not clean, so that is also your personality. So you don't bother about the personality or the cleanliness, the neatness. So very difficult to correct these type of behaviors. So it comes with your environment, your practices, or sometimes your school environment, your family background. So these are called personality disorders. So, and very difficult to treat them, these type of disorders. Okay, these are abnormal behavior. So we need to talk about these behavioral abnormalities.
Madam,
Yes.
madam, මෙතන දැන් ඔය abnormal behaviors වලින් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් වැඩිම අවදානමක් කියන කොයි වගේ මේ disorders එකද? ඒ කියන්නේ අපි ICT විදිහට වැඩ කරනකොට කොයි
ඔව්.
වගේ
අපිට ඇත්තටම ඔයගොල්ලොන්ට මේ වැඩ කරද්දී එන්නේ අපිට මේ මං කිව්වේ මෙතන මේ තියෙන දෙක තියෙන psychotic and personality ඒවා. ඒවා ටිකක් අපිට සමහරවිට අඳුර ගන්න ලේසි, හැබැයි ට්‍රීට් කරන්න අමාරුයි. අපිට වැඩ කරන්න වෙනවා නම් ඒගොල්ලොත් එක්ක හරි අමාරුවෙන් වැඩ කරන්න වෙන්නේ. හැබැයි මෙන්න මේ anxiety disorders and depression දැන් අපිට වැඩිපුරම තියෙන අපිට සමාජයේ දකින්න වෙනවා මෙන්න මේ වගේ අය. anxieties අපිට ගොඩක් දකින්න පුළුවන්. එක දේවල් වලට ෆෝබියා එකක් තියෙන අය, බය, දේවල් කරන්න බෑ, පිළිවෙලට කරන්න බැරි ඒවා, ඒ වගේ දේවල් තියෙන්නේ anxiety. ඒතකොට depression කියන්නේ අර stress එක. මේක තමයි ගොඩාක් අපිට දැන් තියෙන abnormal behavior. Work stress due to the work and the other type of stressors. We have to work with these stressful people and the depressed people. මේ සමහරලාට අඳුර ගන්නත් බැරි වෙන පුළුවන්. ස්ට්‍රෙස් නම් අපිට තේරෙනවානේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ අපි හැමෝම ස්ට්‍රෙස් වලට මුහුණ දීලා තියෙනවානේ. ඉතින් මේව තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට තියෙන මේ ඩිසෝඩර්ස් වෙන්නේ. work load එකත් එක්කලා තමයි මේව තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අපිට පොඩි මේ අයිඩියා එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ අපි හැමෝටම මෙන්න මේක ඇත්තටම disorder මේක සාමාන්‍ය ස්වභාවය නෙවෙයි මෙයාගේ. ටිකක් මේක මේ එක්ස්ට්‍රීම් එන්ඩ් එකක් වගේ කියන එකවත් අපිට තේරුම් ගන්න එපා. නැත්නම් අපි මේව දන්නේම නැතුව හිටියොත් ડિප්‍රෙස් කියන්නේ ස්ට්‍රෙස් එකේ වැඩි මේක. එතකොට මේ ડિප්‍රෙස් වෙච්ච කෙනෙක් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් බොහොම එයා ඉස්සර හිටපු විදිහට වඩා වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් එයාගේ හැසිරීම. එතකොට අපි කියනවා ડિප්‍රෙෂන් නම් බොහොම සිවියර් වෙන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක්. මොකද මේගොල්ලෝගේ suicidal thoughts තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපි වැඩ කරනකොට ඕගොල්ලොන්ට ගොඩාක් stressful environment එකක වැඩ කරන්න වෙන්නේ. අපි හැමෝටම හිමයි. එතකොට අපි මේ ස්ට්‍රෙස් කියන එක අපි හරියට කෝප් අප් කරේ නැත්නම් මේ ડિප්‍රෙස් ලෙවල් එකට යන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට අපිට අඳුන ගන්න බෑ මේ ડિප්‍රෙෂන් කියන ස්ටේටස්. work load එකත් එක්කලා තමයි අපිට ડિප්‍රෙෂන් එන්නේ. එතකොට ඒකේ අපේ intern physical මේ එහෙම නැත්නම් biological factors affect වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි ස්ට්‍රෙස් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනකොට අපේ hormonal issues වැඩි වෙනවා. හෝමෝන් ස්‍රාවය වෙනවා ගොඩක් අපිට අනවශ්‍ය හෝමෝන වර්ග ස්ට්‍රෙස් නිසා. එතකොට ඒව එකතු වෙලා අපේ හෝමෝනල් ලෙවල් එක වෙනස් වෙලා තමයි මේ ડિප්‍රෙෂන් හැදෙන්නේ. නිග්ලෙක්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන් වැඩ ආයේ මුකුත්ම කරන්න නැතුව වැඩට එන්නේ නැතුව වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ ඒව ගැන නොහිතා ඉන්න පුළුවන්. අන්තිමටම සුයිසයිඩ් කරගන්න තත්වයටමපත් වෙනවා. මේ සුයිසයිඩල් ඇටෙම්ප්ස් තමයි මේක අඳුර ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. මොකද නැත්තම් අපි හිතන්නේ ඒක අපි නිග්ලෙක්ට් කරනවා අනිත් අය. ඒ වගේ දේවල් එන්න පුළුවන් ඇබ්නෝමල් බිහේවියර්ස්. අපි මේ ටික ගැනම ජෙනරලි අපි කතා කරනවා මේ ලෙසන්ස් වලදී. ඕකේ.
හරි මැඩම්.
And generally, we want to talk about the psychotherapies. Generally, because you don't go to do the therapeutic sides to the patients, but you have to have some small idea just to talk about these therapies, to have the knowledge, psychosocial support, to give the support for those people, basics of some counseling, or to introduce some counselors. If you can found some patients with these behavioral changes, you may need to guide them to have the psychological support. So basically you should know about this therapeutic side and how to treat them, and you don't go to treat them, but you can give them this necessary support for them to find a counselor or psychological therapist. So that basic knowledge should be there when it comes to the industry. So කවුරු හරි අපිට තේරෙනවා නම් මෙයා දැන් ඉන්නේ මේ level එකේ කියලා, අපිට තේරෙනවා නම් මේක මෙයාගේ common behavior එක නෙවෙයි, this is an abnormal type of behavior, so that we can help them, we can support. Actually the counseling matter came in 19th century onward, because earlier we had proper guiding and supporting centers in our villages, or according to our religious affiliations. So in the temples, church, we had the support from our religious leaders. So we call it guidance from the extended family members. But now we are in the we call it nuclear families, very small families, mother, father, and one or two children. So this is we call nuclear families. So no one is there to support us. So we have to cope up with our own emotions, so which is very difficult. That is why this counseling matter arise. So we need to have an external support to solve our psychological problems. So that support can be provided if we know the things around ourselves. So that support will be given in the 6th topic. Right? This is about the therapies and psychosocial support. And I think this is one before last. Stress management. So I think you have to follow the separate stress management module. So here I am leisurely talk about how to manage our stresses, the causes of stress, symptoms of stress, and how to manage the stresses. So this is also very important for our personal life and the career management. So we need to manage our stresses, manage our emotions. So managing the emotions is very, very important, because when it comes to the workplace, we cannot show directly our emotions to the others. So we have to manage. So everything should be managed by the employees and the employers, because if we cannot manage our emotions, then the environment will be not good for us, not good for work. So stress and all the emotional management processes are very important. So we will talk about these things. And our last topic is addiction. Addiction, as I mentioned in the learning outcomes, there are different type of addictions in our lives. So we need to handle these addictions. Better thing is අපි try කරන්න ඕනේ addict නොවී ඉන්න. Why? It's very difficult to get rid of from these addictions. හරිම අමාරුයි rehabilitate කරන්න. Addictions කියන්නේ අපි move into a different side. So we have to rehabilitate if we want to take them to a proper way. Right? So rehabilitation is very, very difficult once you got addicted. So addictions also very important topic. So here we have added some content. Definition of addiction, addiction versus habits, types of addictive substances. There are different type of addictive substances and their effects. So we need to talk about these things and the rehabilitation. So medicinal addictions and the behavioral type of addiction. Now you say, since you all are computer guys, so you may addicting to some computer games. So very difficult to remove those thoughts. හැම වෙලාවෙම මේක ඔළුවට එනවා. ඒකමයි කරන්න වෙන්නේ once you addict to something, so very difficult to rehabilitate. Behavioral type of addictions are there. So gambling or some other sexual malpractices. So behavioral type of addictions and the substance use addiction. Substance use addictions are that are used as a medicine. So all the substances can be considered as the medicine. So you are addicted. If you are addicted for those medicines, that is also not good. Or you may take take it in a how we call required amount එකට වඩා වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් ගන්නවා නම් මේ substances, we call it addiction. And ඒ කියන ප්‍රමාණයට වඩා ගන්නවා නම් addictive substances ඒක අපේ ශරීරයට හොඳ නැහැ. So we know there are different type of substances. අපි ගන්නවා liquor, අපිට ඕන වෙනවා සමහරලාට marijuana, there are ice, there are different names. So people are addicted once they enter to our blood. So sometimes we may feel this addiction feelings. So which will not easily remove the thoughts. Very difficult to keep away the thoughts. We call it addictions. So we need to talk about these type of addictions and how to treat them for the addictions. Okay, these are the learning content that we want to cover. Only 8 topics are there, right? Total learning hours 30 hours. So that may be vary, change. And there are some references, Dictionary of Psychology and Baron Robert Psychology. So you can refer any psychology related books to get the idea about the topics or the contents. So any psychology related materials that can be used. So there are good materials in the web, so you can use these websites, different websites, simple psychology websites. So there are different websites, so you can just type on the web, you can use those websites. Okay, and no practical sessions or the laboratory sessions. And since it's a 2 credit module, the mode of assessment is, so you have to do the CAs, continuous assessment by in-class short test, assignments and in-semester examination. So you have to submit few assignments, and at the end of the semester you have to face 2 hours paper included 5-6 essay type questions. You have to answer in detailed essay type questions within 2 hours. Okay, this is the structure is essay type questions. So most probably you may ask to answer 4 questions within 2 hours. This is how we structure the paper. So continuous assessment weight 30% from the final exam, and end semester examination weighted 70%. This is the content and how we assess you at the end of the semester or at the end of the module. There are 50 students, so you may not heard a few important things that we discussed in the when we started the lesson. So if you have any question with regarding the curriculum, this is non-GPA subject, but you have to pass this subject in order to earn your degree, to get the degree. This will not support you to do your job, but indirectly this will help you to work. Do you agree with me? Now you can talk. If you have any question, you can raise. If you have any doubt, yes, we are here to discuss. Please tell me. Any question? Any doubt? No. One has asked, can't we get 40% for assessment and 60 for the exam? No, because this has the curriculum has finalized, so we can't change it unless it should come from the department side. So we cannot change the weightage. We are given the curriculum content and the weightage process, so we have to adhere to the rules and regulations. Any other questions? What do you think about the subject? Based on the topics that we discussed, what is your feeling? Do you like to learn it, or you may feel the boring?
No, it's a good subject, madam.
Yeah,
අපිට madam මේක practical side එකත් එක්ක වගේ යන්න පුළුවන් නම් madam මේ ගොඩක් හොඳයිනේ. කියන්නේ මේ අර සාමාන්‍ය interesting වගේ වෙන්න තව ටිකක්.
ඔව් අපි බලමු. අපි බලමු කොහොමද ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් විදියට කරන්න කියලා. දැන් අපිට පොඩි අමාරු වෙයි මේ වගේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් ඒ විදියට කරන්න. නමුත් try එකක් දෙමු. අපිට මේ face to face සිටියන තව ටිකක් ඩිස්කස් කරන්න යන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් අපි try කරමු. ඇත්තටම මේ අර abnormal behaviors type එක ටික තමයි අපිට තියෙන්නේ මේ practically discuss කරන්න. Most of the topics are theory based content, so we will try to do it in a way that we can discuss. Then if you don't have any other questions, we will stop here and I will start our first session. Okay?
Okay, madam.
Okay, I will, because we have, we have one more hour, so we can start the first session without wasting time. So, introduction to psychology. So first we want to know about the subject. This is the introduction. Psychology. Have you normally, sorry, you have heard the word නේ? අහලා තියෙනවනේ මේක කලින්? Psychology. What is your understanding about the subject? මොකක් කියලාද හිතන්නේ මේ ගැන?
Helping to relieve stress.
When you work with the stress, reduce the stress. Yeah, psychology. What is it?
අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන සයිකෝ කියලා නිකන් පිස්සු වෙනවා කියන සයිකෝ හැදෙයි කියන.
මානසිකව බලපාන දෙයක් කියලා අපිට තේරෙනවා නේ සයිකොලොජි. අපි සිංහලෙන් නම් කියනවා මනෝවිද්‍යාව. Psycho is, yes, psycho ඔබලා පාවිච්චි කරනවනේ psycho word එක. Psycho is the mentality. Logi means logi comes to everywhere නේ. හැම subject එකකටම එනවනේ. Most of the subjects come from the Greek. The logi word comes නේ. logi කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? මොනවද? what are the other words, other subjects with logi? Psychology. මේක අපි divide කරනවා නම් two words වලට psychology. logi logy logi කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? තව words තියෙනවා එහෙම. subjects තියෙනවා. there are some more subjects නේ. biology, sociology. අහලා තියෙනවද? sociology, sociology, biology, geology, physiology, psychology, physiology, biology, ජීව විද්‍යාව, මොකක්ද ඒතකොට කියන්නේ? logic කියන්නේ
විද්‍යාව කියන එකද?
විද්‍යාව, sciences, studying the psyche. BMI මේක කියන්නේ. Studying the psyche. Psyche is mental status. We study the mental status of a human being. That is what psychology means. That is how psychology introduce. Psycho is the mental status. Logi is the science. This has come from the Greek. So psychology is that. Okay, I have added here few definitions because we want to know about the history and the subject, what the psychology is. We want to talk about these things. So basically, as the first day, we want to define the subject. So psychology, I have added here the long definition. So we need to go to the origin of the subject, origin to the most mysterious and philosophical concept, which was namely that of soul. This soul is the mysterious and philosophical concept. Soul. What is soul? Have you heard this word soul? අහලා තියෙනවද මේ word එක soul? අපි කියනවා සිංහලෙන් නම් ආත්මය. I don't know the Tamil word. Mysterious. Mysterious කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Very we don't have any idea about the thing. Mysterious. Very mysterious. No idea about the things. Mysterious. Hari amaruwe explain. Cannot explain. Very difficult to explain. And the philosophical concept. Philosophical concept. So it's a philosophical concept. Philosophy කියන්නේ very difficult to explain. Like a philosophy. Philosophers having different ideas on different things. So in the education sector, we learn about the philosophers. Philosophers gives different meanings to different concepts. So philosophers, this is the soul concept is also a philosophical concept. Philosophical, very difficult to explain, very difficult to find because it's a concept. It's an abstract concept. Concepts can be divided, as you know already, abstract and concrete. The concrete concepts are very easy to explain. Explain karan lazy. Chair. We know what the chair is because very easy to explain. It's an abstract. No, sorry. It's a concrete concept. It's a concrete concept which is very easy to explain. Give me 1 minute. Sorry to disturb you. Okay. The call from the university. That's why I answered. Normally, I do not answer for the other calls, but there are some important ones. So sorry. Soul is earlier we discussed about the soul, but now we don't use these definitions. But to have an idea about the subject, we want to talk about these things. So what is soul? Can you give me the answer about the soul? Soul.
Mind.
Yes. Kind of mind. We can consider it as a mind. Yes. What else?
Spirit.
A spirit. Yes. Spirit. Yeah. Can you explain it? How can it be studied? Can you study? If it is science, it's logo කියන්නේ science එකක්නේ. Logi means science. So if it is a science, we could be able to study it. So soul, can it be studied? We know study of the soul. First definition was study of the soul. So it's most is mysterious and philosophical concept. Very difficult to explain. නේද? So soul කියන එක අපිට explain කරන්න හරි අමාරුයි. soul. ආත්මය පිළිබඳව කරනු ලබන හැදෑරීමක් කියලා තමයි ඉස්සර කිව්වේ මේකට. ආත්මය. ආත්මය ගැන කොහොමද හදාරන්නේ? If we cannot see it, very difficult to study. Yeah, it will live on after our death. So yeah, we call them life spirit. So there are different what we call different explanations, but we will not easily study. We cannot study easily. So because it's mysterious, we can't search it, we can't find it. And this psychology word derived from two Greek words, as I mentioned earlier. This is the meaning. Psyche means soul in Greek. Soul. That is why we put the study of the soul word. Study of the soul. Psyche called soul. Atme. Logos or logi is the science. Soul and study the soul. Then this definition was rejected because earlier in the very inception of the subject, they used this definition, study of the soul, ආත්මය පිළිබඳ කරන හැදෑරීම. But when it developed according to the time, so this definition was rejected because it's the mysteriousity of the subject of the soul, and the people rejected the concept or soul concept. So they rejected the definition, first definition, and the second, then they started to talk about the mind. Mind එක ආත්මය කියන එකට වඩා ටිකක් පේනවා වගේ මනස කියන එක. The study of the mind. So we cannot study this about the soul, but sometimes we may study about the mind. So study of the mind. This was also rejected later, but in the inception of the subject or the very beginning, they were accepted about this. They were accepted this definition, the study of the mind. Here also we have to think about few questions. How does the mind work? Now we know what the mind is. What is mind? Can be considered as our mentality. The mindsets, mentality. We know that the mind is there, not like soul. අපිට soul කියන එකට වඩා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් how does the mind work? කොහොමද ඒක මනස කියන එක වැඩ කරන්නේ කියලා අපිට අහන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට study කරන්නත් පුළුවන් වෙයි. මනස කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? මම හිතන විදිහද? Why do I think as I do? Why do I and others behave as I do? How is the mind connected to the body? This is the most important problem or the question. How is the mind connected to the body? If there is so-called mind, how does it connected to our body? Does it connected to our body? These are the philosophical problems, philosophical questions, philosophical matters. හිතන්න ඕනේ දේවල්. Is there any organ called mind, or how does it work, how it connects to the our physical body? Does it affect to our behaviors, like whether it affect to our other works? Likewise, we need to think about the mind. So this is yes, the mind is less mysterious and less unclear than the soul. අපිට ඉස්සෙල්ලා ආත්මය කියලා කියන්නේ හරි අමාරුයි ඒක explain කරන්න. It is very mysterious, very difficult to explain, very difficult to find a meaning, very difficult to come to a conclusion when it defining the subject, mind, soul. But the mind, we can think about the mind. අපිට හිතෙනවා මේ මනස කියලා දෙයක් තියෙනවා කියලා. Mind, මනස. And we may think that the mind related to our body, physical body. අපිට ඒකත් හිතෙනවා. These two things link together and work together කියලා හිතෙනවා, because sometimes we may talk that my mind is upset, my mind is not good. If we talk, if your mind is not healthy, then it will affect to your physical structure or the physical body. We may talk about these things. So this is less mysterious than the soul. Soul කියනවට වඩා මේක ටිකක් අපිට ප්‍රඥා ගෝචර වෙනවා. mind එක අපිට තේරෙනවා යමක් අපිට මෙන්න මෙහෙම එකක් නම් තියෙනවා, මේක අපිට පේන්නේ නැහැ, very difficult to describe, very difficult to explain, we cannot see, we cannot touch, but we know that there is something so called mind. එහෙම එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා අපිට යන්තම් හිතෙනවා. අපිට prove කරන්න බැරි වෙයි, but we believe, අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා, we believe that there is a mind which related to our body. Those mind and body, those two organs will work together. Likewise, we can understand about the concept. So less mysterious and less unclear. So not much clear, but we have the clear understanding than the soul. When it compared with the soul, the mind is acceptable, right? Less mysterious. So what is mind? What is mind? How can it be studied? Those are the problems. මොකක්ද මේ මනස කියන්නේ? කොහෙටද මේක සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? Is it an organ, or does it link to the brain or our heart? කොහෙටද මේ mind කියන එක සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? So how can it be studied if there is an organ? So then we can study it, like brain functions, brain malfunctions, heart failures. So we know all the functions, but mind, what is mind? How can it be studied? Very difficult. We can't do this. Study කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න නම් ඒ වගේ අපිට තියෙන්න එපයි, බලන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක්. So මේකත් ඒ නිසාම අපි දන්නවා මනස කියන එක අපිට එෆෙක්ට් වෙනවා කියලා. අපි දන්නවා අපේ මනස හරිය නැත්නම් අපේ ෆිසිකල් බොඩි එකටත් ඒක එෆෙක්ට් වෙනවා කියලා. But very difficult to prove that. අපි හිතනවා මනස නිසා මනස රෝගී වුණොත්, මයින්ඩ් එක අප්සෙට් වුණොත්, ඒක we cannot concentrate something, we cannot recognize things, we cannot pay our attention, we cannot send the information to the memory. මේ වගේ දේවල් අපි දන්නවා mind එකෙන් තමයි කරන්නේ කියලා, but very difficult to prove it. So this mind concept is also rejected. This was also rejected. Mind කියන එකත් අර මේ හේතු නිසා අපිට ඒක හරියට බලන්න බෑ කොහෙද තැන තියෙන්නේ, කොහොමද මේක එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්නේ, කොහොමද මේක මේ අපේ ෆිසිකල් බොඩි එකට එෆෙක්ට් වෙන්නේ, මේ වගේ දේවල් අපිට එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්න බැරි නිසාම මේකත් රිජෙක්ට් කරා. This definition also rejected. So psyche, science, soul, psyche is, first one is soul, second one is mind, soul, mind. Then third definition also came. Consciousness. What is this consciousness business? Consciousness. Soul, mind, then consciousness. Have you heard the word consciousness? අපි සිංහලෙන් නම් කියනවා විඥානය කියලා. That is also mysterious. විඥානය, Sinhala word terminology is very difficult to understand when it compared to the English terminology. Consciousness we know. Unconscious, conscious, there are different type of awareness. Consciousness. සවිඥානික බව කියලා අපි කියනවා. විඥානය. So awareness about our feelings, thoughts. That is the meaning of consciousness. So they define it as the soul, very first inception, then they talk about the mind. Now it comes to the consciousness matter. Consciousness. Now we want to know what the consciousness is. This was also rejected. Consciousness. What is consciousness?
විඥානය සංඥා.
Yes, විඥානය කියලා අපි කියනවා. විඥානය කියන්නේ මොකක්ද?
මනස.
මනස. ආපහු අතෙන්ද යනවා. කැරගෙනවා. නේද? විඥානය අපි සිහිය කියලා කියනවා. සවිඥානික බව කියලා කියනවා. We use different words to explain the concept. Different type of words can be used to explain the concept. සවිඥානික බව. මොකද්ද මේ විඥානය කියලා කියන්නේ? කොහොමද අපි how to identify the word? මේක gravity එක අඩු කරගන්නේ කොහොමද? විඥානයේ සිහිය explain කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? ඒකත් අර ආත්මය වගේම එකක් තමයි නේ. හරි අමාරුයි කියන්න.
ෆිසිකල් බොඩි එකට කනෙක්ට් වෙලා තියෙන
ෆිසිකල් බොඩි එකට කනෙක්ට් වෙලා තියෙන අපේ කොහෙද? මොකක්ද?
virtual thing එකක්.
ස්පිරිචුවල් තින් එක. මොකක්ද හරියටම අමාරුයි ඒකත් කියන්න නේ. හැබැයි අපිට ටිකක් අර මිස්ටීරියස් ගතිය අඩු වෙනවා දැන් නේද ටිකෙන් ටික. ටිකෙන් ටික අපිට තේරෙනවා මොකක් හරි එකක් තියෙනවා. කොන්ෂස්නස් ඇක්ටිවිටීස් අපි කියනවා විඥාණයෙන් අපි බලන දෙයක් අපිට සිහිය එල්බ ගන්නවා කියන්නේ නේ. කොන්ෂස්නස්. The study of consciousness is the third definition for this subject. Hari? William James explain or define the subject as the description and explanation of state of consciousness as such. මේ consciousness එක කියන එක explain කරන එක තමයි describe කරන එක තමයි මේ subject එක. psychology කියන්නේ කියනවා. දැන් ඉතින් explain කරන්න එපා මේ විඥානය කියන එක. මේ විඥානවාදීන් කියලාම කොටසක් හිටියා. මේගොල්ලෝ තමයි මේ විලියම් ජේම්ස් වූන්ඩ් මේගොල්ලෝ විඥානවාදී ගුරුකුලයක් කියලා කියන අපි කියන්නේ ස්කූල් ඔෆ් කොන්ෂස්නස්. මේගොල්ලෝ කිව්වේ මේ සිහිය ගැන විස්තර කරනවා. සිහිය කියන්නේ awareness එක. වූන්ඩ් science of consciousness. science of consciousness කියලා. මේගොල්ලෝ මේකටම මේ පිහිටෙව්වා මේ ජර්මනියේ මේ first psychology laboratory එකත්. මේ ටෙස්ට් කරන්න මේ විඥානය ටෙස්ට් කරන්න කොන්ෂස්නස් එක අපිට ටෙස්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒක තමයි මේ මනෝවිද්‍යාව කියලා අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න. අපි ඒක තමයි මේ මනස පිළිබඳව අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න. මනස කියන එක නෙවෙයි විඥානය. සිහිය. ඒ වෙලාවේ අපේ ඔළුවට එන කොහෙට හරි ඔය තියෙන ඕගන් එකක් අපි මේකට සම්බන්ධයි කියලා හිතමුකෝ. එතකොට ඒකට එන සිතුවිලි අපිට ගැන අපිට අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා. මේ එනේව තමයි මේ අපි අවබෝධ මේ අධ්‍යයනය කරන්නේ, ස්ටඩි කරන්නේ. සයන්ස් ඔෆ් කොන්ෂස්නස් මේ අවයානස් එක. මේගොල්ලෝ කොහොමද ඒක ස්ටඩි කරේ අවයානස් එක විඥානේ. The thoughts come to our mind. Or come to the awareness. So they use this introspection method. These psychologists use the introspection method to study the consciousness. Then introspection කියන method එක පුතාව to study the consciousness. They use introspection method to study the consciousness. Now, what the conscious is? The introspection method is the process of looking within. Taman tulama, in our own selves. We want to look at our own sense, own feelings, own thoughts, and our own behaviors. They don't bother about the behavior. Own thinking pattern, feelings. මේවා තමයි consciousness කියන්නේ. So introspection method එක පාවිච්චි කරලා introspection කියන එකේ කියනවා අන්තරාවර්ති ක්‍රමය කියලා. අන්තරාවර්තන අපි ඇතුළට එබිලා බලනවා අපේ ඇතුළට. in looking within අපේ ඇතුළට එබිලා බලන්නේ. මොනවාද මේ feelings කියලා. Introspection is the instrument that can be considered as the instrument to study conscious activities. Only the conscious activities. Conscious activities that are the activities that we are aware. Conscious activities we know. We are aware about those activities. So this is called consciousness. We can understand about those feelings. Things, awareness about the matters. These are conscious activities. So, using this introspection method, they try to look our inner feelings, inner thoughts. මේ මොනවාද මේ හිතේ තියෙන ඒවා කියලා try කරන්න මේගොල්ලෝ බැලුවා මේ introspection method එකෙන්. So, introspection method is they try to explore, or try to look at our feelings, our awareness. විඥානය කියන්නේ ඒක awareness. අපිට තේරෙනවද අපේ හැඟීම්, our thoughts, අපේ සිතුවිලි, our beliefs, all the thoughts, feelings that are aware about us. අපි දන්න අපිට තේරෙන දේවල් ගැන බලන්න. So here they use this introspection method to study our consciousness. So they take the client or the patient into a dark room, and they lay the patient in a sofa and ask the client or the patient to reveal. ඔක්කොම නිරාවරණය කරන්න කියනවා, රිවීල් කරන්න කියනවා, එයාට එක්ස්ප්ලෝර් කරන්න කියනවා. That are the things comes to their mind. මේ වෙලාවේ ඔළුවට එන හැමදේම, all the thoughts, feelings, they asked to reveal, explore to the psychologist, counselor. After the end, the psychologists record everything. They recorded everything that the patient revealed or that patient explained. This was the introspection method. එතකොට අපි patient නම් එයාගේ හිතේ එන හැම සිතුවිල්ලක්ම කියන්න කියනවා. So if the person who was suffered from the mental diseases, so this revealing process is very, very important. Still, in the counseling process, we ask our patients or the clients to reveal the emotions. අපි ඉස්සර ඉඳලාම කියනවා මේ මොනවා හරි හිතේ තියාගෙන ඉන්නවට වඩා ඒක ගහකට හරි ගලකට හරි කිව්වත් කමක් නැහැ. නේ අහන් ඉන්නේ නැති කෙනෙකුට කිව්වත් කමක් නැහැ. නේ කිරි ගහකට කියන්න දෙයක් ගිහින් මොකක්ද මේකේ තියෙන සයිකොලොජි එක? This was the introspection method. Reveal all the thoughts, maybe negative, maybe positive, maybe some hidden thoughts, opinions, views, all the inner thoughts will reveal. අපිට තේරෙනවා එතකොට මේක එළියට ගන්නකොට අපිට යම්කිසි relaxation එකක් දැනෙනවා. So this is the most important point of introspection method. නේ අර ඒක එළියට අදලා දැම්මම අපි free. හිතේ හංගගෙන ඉන්නවට වඩා. So this method came for few years. මේක accept කරා introspection method එක. කොහොම හොඳ ක්‍රමයක් විදිහට මානසික රෝගවලට ප්‍රතිකාර කරන්න. මොකද කවුරු හරි අහගෙන ඉන්නවා කියලා දැනගෙන අපි හිතට එන දේවල් අපි කාගෙන් තරහක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒක ඕනදිය එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඒක රෙකෝඩ් කරගන්නවා සයිකොලොජිස්ට්. ඊට පස්සේ අර revealing itself is a therapy. ඒකම therapy එකක්. එළියට දාපුවම I don't need any other type of therapies. So the client feel some relax. They can understand the relaxing. So this is the introspection method, but there were some problems. So what are the problems that encountered? So there are some people who cannot reveal all the thoughts and the things. Some children, they cannot reveal their thoughts, views. It is very difficult to get their belief. So that is not good. And based on the counselor's properties, this is very subjective. Counselor may take the decisions based on what they heard. So very subjective. ඇහෙන තරමට තමයි ඒව ගැන තීරණ ගන්න. So this is very subjective. This definition also rejected. Very narrow range, not talking about the subconscious and unconscious activities of the mind. This is one reason to reject. Okay, this definition was also rejected. The reasons are there. Very narrow range. They are not talking about the subconscious and unconscious activities. So now they talk about the conscious activities, but there are subconscious and unconscious. Unconscious means we are not aware. There are some feelings, some activities, some thoughts. We are not aware. We don't know whether they are in our mind or not. අපිට ඒව තියෙනවද නැද්ද කියලා දන්නේ. There are 3 layers in the mind. According to the Sigmund Freud, there are 3 layers. He said that the what we call the mind is built with 3 layers: conscious mind, subconscious mind, and unconscious mind. So subconscious is it comes to the conscious layer very easily, very quickly. We can take අපිට අමතක වෙච්ච ඒවා තියෙනවා. ඒවා අපේ එක සැරේටම එන්නේ නැහැ. Due to some reason, those subconscious matters, subconscious activities come to our mind, and unconscious, which is very difficult to take to the conscious layer. අපි layers තුනක් හැදුවොත් එහෙනම් conscious layer එකට ගන්න බෑ unconscious. අපි we are not aware about those things. අපි දන්නේ නැහැ අපේ හිතේ එහෙම ඒවා තිබිලා කියලා. So unconscious activities of the mind. So these introspection method cannot touch these things. So this is one reason for rejection. And unscientific. It's unscientific, entirely subject. So based on the listener, the problem may recorded based on the listener. So unscientific. It's unscientific. Not include consciousness of animals because they cannot talk. They cannot explain their own consciousness. So not included the consciousness animals, not only the animals, the people who cannot explain their own views, thoughts. So, and children, deaf people, so they cannot explain their own views. So this, that is why they rejected the matter, consciousness matter. So they also rejected, right? These are the three definitions which was rejected from the society. So earlier, they in that era, they actually in the history they accept all the three definitions accepted. They worked, but now we do not consider about those definitions. Now we have come to a new era, so now we don't talk about the consciousness. We still think about the consciousness. Sometimes we may use these methods, introspection and other type of methods, but we don't accept these definitions. Study of the soul, study of the mind, and study of the consciousness. These definitions were rejected. So this is the history. This was discussed by the pre-era of the subject, historical context. So now we have come to the new definition. It is a study of the behavior, but that we will study in our second lecture. So these three definitions were rejected already. So, but we want to have an idea about the history. That is why I took these things into our consideration. So now we can stop our session. I think you all have sent the numbers and the name. So I will record the attendance as it is. So please do not add your numbers. So that it is easy for me to record your attendance. Okay, that is regarding the attendance. So if you have any question with related to the content that we discussed for the moment, මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් you can ask any questions. You can raise your hand or you can ask any question. Do you have any question, any clarification? Do you need any clarification? So regarding these three definitions: mind, soul, mind. Studying the soul is the very first definition. It was psyche. Psyche is the soul in the Greek word. It's a Greek word, psyche. Logo is the sciences. psyche is soul. And after rejecting the soul matter, it came to the mind matter. Mind. Study the mind. And study the consciousness activities. Consciousness. Study the only the consciousness. So there are reasons for the rejections, because all these concepts are very mysterious and very philosophical concepts. So very difficult to study, very difficult to understand, very difficult to explain. That is why the public rejected those definitions. So now now we do not bother about the consciousness or mind or soul. We are talking about the behavior, human behavior. So now psychology is talking about the human behavior. So you can find more information related to the history and the definitions or the understanding the psychology. So do you have any question? No.
No, madam.
Okay, then we'll wind up the session. So I think you all have.
Madam, can you send some reference link for us?
Yes, I will send with the PowerPoint, and I will send some references.
Okay, madam.
Okay. මෙතන question එකක් අහලා තියෙනවා. කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් මානසිකව විකෘති වෙලා නම් ඉන්නේ. කොහොමද ආයේ එයාව recover කරන්නේ? ඔව් මේක තමයි mental disorders කියලා අපි කියන්නේ. බොහොම අපි ඉතින් ඒක බලන්න ඕනේ කොහොමද මොකක්ද මානසිකව විකෘති කියලා කියන්නේ? විකෘතිකම කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? එතකොට ඒක සමහර විට ඒක behavioral issue එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් හැසිරීමෙන් එයාගේ. එතකොට ඒවට තියෙනවා treatments, psychological treatments තියෙනවා. counselors ලා ඉන්නවා, psychiatrists ලා ඉන්නවා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට වෙනස අඳුර ගන්න ඕන psychiatrist and the psychologist. එතකොට psychiatrist කෙනෙක් ළඟටත් එක්කයි යන්න පුළුවන්, psychologist කෙනෙක් ළඟටත් එක්කයි යන්න පුළුවන්. there are different type of treatment. සමහර වෙලාවට medicines පාවිච්චි කරනවා psychiatrist ලා. මේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් treat කරන්න. පුළුවන් ඒක හොඳම වැඩේ තමයි identify කරගන්න ඒගොල්ලෝගේ disorders. මොනවද මේක order එකට තියෙන disorder එකක්ද කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒකට treat කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේවා අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ ක්‍රම තියෙනවා. psychologist ලා ළඟත් තියෙනවා, psychiatrist ළඟත් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒවෙන් ප්‍රශ්න වෙන්න එපා. හැබැයි සමහර disorders තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, personality disorders හරි අමාරුයි මං කිව්වා වගේම treat කරන්න අමාරුයි personality එකෙන් වෙනේවා නම් ඒව සමහරලාට හරි අමාරු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. habit එකක් විදියට කරගෙන යන එකක් නම් ඒක disorder එකක් විදියට consider කරනවා. හැබැයි වෙනස් වෙනවා, අමාරුයි. අපිටම පර්සන පෞරුෂ අපි පුද්ගලයා දකින්නේ මේ විදිහට. එතකොට ඒක එයාගේ nature එක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට හරි අමාරුයි ඒක වෙනස් කරන්න. මේවා ගැන අපි කතා කරමු ඉස්සරහට. හරි එහෙමනම් thank you very much. We will stop the session.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, madam.